I was sitting in class, senior year, at Jackson Mountain High School. I cried Bobby's whole speech, so I knew I would get emotional. Probably reading some online running thread instead of paying attention to whatever I was supposed to be studying. A knock came on the door, and it was Mr. Jeffries, the athletic director, pulling me out as there was a phone call waiting for me in his office. I sat down to find the Ohio State distance coach on the line. One thing led to another, and I was in the passenger seat of a loaded Jeep Wrangler with the Buckeyes logo embossed into each seat. I toured the campus, met the team, and spent the rest of the weekend envisioning myself in scarlet and gray. That was it for me. I was going to be a Buckeye. Like most kids coming from a small town, in a graduating class of 60, a university like Ohio State would convince anybody to leave home. And trust me, I was convinced. I spent the rest of the season prepping for the state meet and thinking about the big changes ahead. But Mr. Jeffries came back again and convinced me to take one more phone call from a school just up the road. We arranged an official visit, hosted by the Whitmer girls, and well, here we are. Nobody really looks forward to going to their local university, but it was such a unique experience as my teammates were a lot of local kids that didn't really know much about each other until we were brought together at YSU. Like everybody else in the state of Ohio, I knew exactly who Eric Group was, but never spoke a word to him until he transferred back to Youngstown State. And after a big graduating class, we found ourselves stuck together quite a bit. He taught me way more than I ever cared to know about chemistry and drug me through a lot of miles. I still roll my eyes every time Jeopardy comes on, as I can't tell you how many times he would tell me he could easily be a contestant. When I look back on my time at Youngstown State, it's easy to think about the big races and all of the record-setting times, but it was really the in-between moments that made my time there so great. I think about those early days and the long drives in the van with the Lape twins, cracking joke after joke. We'd make as little stops as possible, but always picked the right stops and came back to a whole Sbarro pizza on the dash just for Coach Gorby. I think about the weekly trips in the dead of winter to Kent State and Geneva just to run a workout. We'd all jump out of the van, warm up as quick as we could, run a half mile all out, and I mean all out, and grind through whatever workout Coach Gorby sent out in the group text earlier that day. We'd speed back to campus to try to make it for dinner before the cafeteria closed. Sometimes we made it, sometimes we didn't. I think about all the runs and the workouts through beautiful Mill Creek Park, a place that quite literally became a second home. I always dreaded the Rocky Ridge meetups because it was an uphill finish no matter what, but I guess that was probably the point. I still know every trail, every route, and every rock in that place like the back of my hand. It's truly such a hidden gem. I was blessed to watch YSU evolve, running and racing on the new track and inside the Watts. It still blows my mind that we have such a beautiful facility right here at YSU. As the older people say, the kids will never understand how good they really have it. My teammate Anna and I, we had coffee a few weeks ago, and we were reminiscing about the good old days, still in disbelief at how fast time has really gone. We were all smiles as we laughed and agreed that we'd kill just to have one more night with no real responsibilities, and maybe just one more party at the track house. Those playlists will forever live in my head. To Coach Strollo, thank you for all of your guidance and willingness to help me at the snap of a finger, and for taking me to Chicago at the very last minute for that 10K. You gave me another shot. To Coach Townsend, thank you for checking in, analyzing my plan, and for always keeping lane 1 open for me. I always know where to find you. To Coach Guy, you poured everything you had into supporting my running, and our distance crew could never thank you enough. You took the guessing out of everything and kept track of all the numbers so I never had to. You were quiet, but never afraid to tell me to get out of my own head and just believe in my abilities. Thank you for managing the record books each and every time. I just know you found plenty of track meets up there in the sky. To Coach Denham, you are an amazing teammate and probably Coach Gorby's biggest asset, as you always put up with me when he just couldn't. From the constant pep talks, the hard truths, and the countless workouts that you paced me through, you were the biggest shoulder to lean on, and definitely the one to get my head on straight when I needed it. And back then, I really needed it. I still think about those mile repeats more than I'd like to admit. Thank you for dragging me through. To Coach Gorby, there will never be enough words, or even the right words, to thank you for everything you've done and for every opportunity that you've given me. For all of the little white lies you threw on a heat sheet just to give me a chance. For all of the miles you drove just to chase a few seconds. For all of the workouts you just let me go instead of telling me to slow down. For all of those hurdles you tripped and fell over as you ran and screamed down the home stretch at Indoor Horizon League during that big 3K. You know the one. For all of my bullshit that you put up with day in and day out, it all paid off, and I'm forever grateful for what you've done for me. For somebody that admittedly has a lot of emotions, you were the perfect coach for me, as you would always say. I never could have convinced freshman Sam that I believed this place with 10 school records and all of the achievements that I did. As I look back and think about the times that I just wasn't satisfied or just wanted more, it was just because I cared about it so deeply. It was never just a race for me. Eric used to say that when you cross the finish line after the race of your life, you always forget how hard it really was. And it really is true. I was lucky enough to have more than a few of those. I look at my daughter, and I see my mini-me. We've spent many afternoons at the experimental farm just down the road, and trust me when I say, I've dealt with my fair share of tantrums she's thrown after prying her off of the podium at the YSU cross-country course. But in between the kicking, the screaming, and of course the tears, I find myself envisioning her growing up around running, and I hope more than anything that she gets to be a part of something as great as this was for me. If there's one thing that I could go back in life for, it would be to tell 17-year-old me that there were some really big things ahead, and to just really enjoy it when you're in it. I cannot thank Coach Gorby and Youngstown State and all of the staff enough for taking a chance on me. To know now that there are endless possibilities out there, I can truly say that there is nothing else I would rather be than a Youngstown State Penguin. To my family, thank you. Thank you for always being there. Thank you for traveling the country to watch me chase my dreams. And thank you for always trying to understand just how much this crazy sport means to me. I was just catching up with Lance, another local runner and teammate of mine. And he gave me the best advice that I just want to leave everybody here in this room with. It's short and sweet, but it's true. You are capable of anything. And I can truly say that Youngstown State taught me just that. Thank you again, and congratulations to my fellow inductees.